So I'm not sure how to open this video because the initial point of this video was to take a look at Tiger Woods' changes throughout the years, just to give you a better idea of why those changes occurred. And I stumbled across this video on YouTube, and it's Peter Kostis analyzing Tiger's swing throughout the years. But just listen to what he says real quick.
Watch how much quicker on the right he gets to impact than he did in 2000. Look at that.
Actually, as the curious animal that I am, I went ahead and I downloaded that video and I cropped Tiger's 4 swings. So let me shrink my head real quick for this one, and we're going to watch the speed of all these swings. Now keep in mind, this is about 18 years difference. I don't see any sort of sequencing changing. I don't see any timing changes. No one swing looks that exaggerated. There's no separations of tempo, which was really curious to me because tempos don't usually change, even though the swing could get shorter or longer. But look at this, the tempo's the exact same. So then what I did next is I cropped the same swings. We noticed Tiger in that khaki colored shirt on the left side. They both reached the top at the same speed. But what do you notice that's different? As soon as we swing down, look at the one on the right side that Peter Kostis used. It is well ahead of where it actually was when you crop them up and sync them up correctly. Now keep in mind, I didn't change the videos. All I did was slow them down to 0.34 to match the speed that he was using in slow motion. So something is off and I just don't know. So I started going down an even bigger rabbit hole. And for those that don't know Peter Kostis, he's one of the announcers, or I don't know if he still announces anymore, but he was one of the announcers during the tournaments and would break down golf swings. So I scrolled down and I looked at him. 150,000 lessons given. Now, what does that mean? 150,000 lessons. If you take a look at his Wikipedia page, he was born in 1947. So he just turned 77. Moving on to 78. Now, 150,000 lessons. That sounds like a lot. Let's just do the math real quick. So we're on our free calculator. So let's just say you have a full-time job. So 8 hours a day times 5 days a week. So you're working 40 hours a week. Okay, so we have 150,000 golf lessons. Let's assume these are 1 hour lessons just to start off. Now we divide that by 1 week worth and you come up with 3,750 weeks. Now if we divide that by 52 weeks in a year, we're left with 72 years. So if he was given 1 hour lessons, he had to start at 5 years old. So we can probably assume they're not 1 hour lessons unless he was born in China. But since that's not the case, what constitutes a lesson? Even at 30-minute lessons, working 40 hours a week, which is a lot of lessons, that's still 36 years, which I can kind of see if that's what he means by a lesson, a 30-minute tune-up lesson. But then if we go back to his profile, we see that he had many tour player students, and I don't think they want 30-minute lessons, and he doesn't have back-to-back. You see, he joined the CBS Sports in 1992, which I think would limit his teaching ability. So what really constitutes a lesson? That's a question. I'm sure it's up for debate, but this is a long intro, and I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but I just wanted to throw that out there for you. But let's go take a look at Tiger Woods and see why he changed his swing, and it's mostly due to the injuries. I'll show you what to look out for because we're all getting older and how to prevent yourself from having more injuries, and mostly it has to do with how far you're setting up to the golf ball. So there was no real point for that intro. I just wanted to show you what I go through every day, understanding more about this thing we call the golf swing, including my rabbit hole, which I want you to stay away from, so don't end up like me. So I've broken Tiger's swing down to 6 main changes. So when he was working with Butch Harmon from the mid-90s to the early 2000s, they went to 2 swing changes. Started out as a powerful, athletic, long backswing with a big turn, and we see evidence of this when many of us first saw Tiger come on tour, which led to his 12-shot win at the Masters. Now, once they started to refine it in the late 2000s to early 2000s, we saw the Tiger Slam, which is 4 majors in a row, and we saw a much shorter backswing, more compact, and this allowed him to improve his ball striking. Then he made the switch to Hank Haney, and they worked on flattening out the plane with an exaggerated release. Now, the reason Woods wanted this change was he wanted a swing that was more repeatable under pressure, which makes sense, and Haney did help him approach this, and that led him to win multiple majors in the 2006 to 2008 stretch. Now comes Sean Foley. In 2010 to 2014, this is where his injury started to play a part, so he needed to change his swing, so he went with more of a stack and tilt influences and a more centered pivot and less lateral movement. Now, the reason he would do this is because he wanted a more efficient motion that would reduce stress on his body, particularly his left knee, which we see in some of these swings. Look at the pressure on that left knee, how it absorbs that, so that is eventually going to catch up to you. Then he switched over to Chris Como in 2015. 2015 to 2017, emphasizing shorter, compact, less aggressive, lower body motion, and this is because now he had to deal with back issues. And then it led into the 2018 post-surgery swing. And the reason for this was to restrict the movements even more, less explosion than we see in this past, and relied on experience and strategy. So we saw more of the course management Tiger come out instead of the bomb and gouge Tiger. So the major reason for that is a spinal fusion surgery in 2017. So we had to adjust his physical limitations, and not to mention that accident where he almost lost his legs. So we see a much bulked up Tiger from the midsection up to really help generate some clubhead speed with his upper body and not so much with his lower body. So he's done a complete reversal. Before it was his lower body that developed the speed. Now he is relying more on the upper body. So instead of boring you with putting up a bunch of swings to analyze, we're just going to pick two and then we're going to try and keep them fairly separate apart, and we can see some changes already, but we won't notice much of these changes without our favorite Barney Purple. So let's put Barney Purple right up that lower plane line and also connect his upper plane line just to see a couple things that have changed in his address as well as the top position and an impact. So we're also going to use mellow yellow and figure out that spine angle. We're going to go from the back of the ear to right about where that pocket is. So back of the ear to where the pocket is, and we can see that the spine angle is slightly more down in the modern Tiger, and this is largely due to the fact that he's standing much further away from the golf ball, and this is key for the aging golfer. So if you do suffer from rotation issues, this might be something you want to try and do, but again, don't do this without consulting your local pro. But let's do from the arches of the heel straight up to the sky, and we're going to split the difference. So there's the arches of the heel straight up to the sky, and we can see that they are still favoring the heel slightly, a little bit more of the old Tiger, but the biggest thing here is again that spacing between his thighs and his hands. We don't see much clearance room. Now, why is that clearance room important for Tiger now when it wasn't that important for Tiger in the past? And we'll have to go straight down to impact to show you, but before we go there, let's go to the top of the swing and let's see some old habits that's just still with us. And the big old habit that Tiger has always had, and it actually helped his golf swing, he did cross the line. Now, however, you see the new Tiger's foot line closely matches that crossing line, so I'm not sure if he's doing that intentionally or if it's just a camera angle issue, but some of these things don't go away, and this is one of them. So regardless of all those changes he has made, you can still see the turn from this position looks pretty identical. The only thing we can see that's a little bit different is this knee bend on both of Tiger versus the old one. We're starting to see evidence of that stack tilty motion that they was working on with Sean Foley between 2010 and 2014. So you can see a hybrid of stuff, and stuff is carried over to the current swing, but the key point of this is to show you why he needs that extra spacing now. So let's go down to impact. Okay, so we're going to let the red Tiger on the right side go down to impact first, and what we can see is look at the hips. The hips are still turning somewhat normal turn as to where he used to be. We can still see the right foot driving up. We don't see that left foot, however, spin out. We see it staying pretty level if you look at that left foot over here. Now if you take a look at the impact position on the old Tiger, watch the hips. The hips have to clear out the way a lot quicker. So as he gets down to impact, we see a full release on the right foot, and we look at the left foot at impact, it'll just snap back. Now that's snapping back. If you take a look at this frame right, all that impact is absorbed by the left knee, where now the newer swing Tiger, because it's more centered and he's much further from the golf ball, he doesn't have to rely on clearing his hips to create the room for the hands to drop in the slot and release a lot heavier. Biggest indication of this is as we complete our swing, even through completion of the swing, look at the difference between the left Tiger and the right Tiger. Obviously the one on the right side is going to be a lot taller when you finish, just to alleviate the pressure on this lower back and also the knee. So everything is standing more upright. He's still pushing, but there's not pushing towards the left like we see on old Tiger. And old Tiger, we have a lot of pressure being built up here, a lot of pressure being built up here on that left knee, and then also a lot of pressure being built up on that left ankle. So we can see if you look at his surgery history, a lot of these surgeries that he did was on the left side from hips down, and he has had some neck issues as well, some shoulder issues. So there's only a certain time that you can keep that aggressive swing going, and Tiger was ahead of this. He tried to change his swing knowing that this is going to happen, and obviously it didn't keep him away from the hospitals, but to still play competitively into his mid to late 40s, even when the Masters at the age that he did, is still pretty impressive. But nobody can beat Father Time. So if you wanted to give yourself some more spacing, if you're an aging golfer, if you know you can't fire your body as well as you used to, try and stand a little bit further and rely more on upper body like Tiger. I mean, look at the size difference. Tiger looks like he belongs in the NFL on the right side. On the left side, he looks like a golfer. So if you're starting to struggle with your turn, with your back, with your knees, you got some issues, you're getting a little bit up there in age, try standing further away. That might help you, but don't make those changes unless you either send me a video so I can watch you on Sunday and give you my opinion on what you should do, or if you work with a golf coach, bring it up to them. Remember, golf coaches can really help save your game and support your local golf pro. They have families and mouths to feed as well. So if you do like this, hit that like, share, subscribe, share with somebody that you know. Don't forget, Sundays, 6 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we go live right here where I diagnose your golf swing for free, and I will see you next time. Fairways and greens.